All right, we are live for kind of a stage 8 wrap up, stage 9 kickoff. So welcome to the live stream. We're going to talk a little bit about stage 8 that took place exclusively at the Ella Sharp complex with the museum, planetarium, and the historic farm lane. And we've got a special guest, the stage 8 solver, Doug Prow. So we'll talk to him here in just a second about what he thought about the stage 8 puzzle and how he solved it and all of that. And then we'll do a quick update on stage 9. I got a minor hint there to keep people moving in the right direction. And then we'll talk a little bit about what this stage 10 looks like. So I guess let's kick it off. Doug, welcome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For sure. Greg's I think he's at a hockey tournament right now. So our guys are all over the place. So you don't get any of the others. You're stuck with me today. But I guess what were your initial thoughts on stage 8? I know in the past what we've done is the location was part of the solve. Like, where do I go? And then what do I do once I get there? So I guess what were your initial thoughts on how stage 8 was like, all right, now you know where it's at, and well, ish, right?
Yeah.
I guess what were your initial thoughts on how that rolled out? Because we're always trying to learn how to get better.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. It was nice for me because it's about an hour and 15 minutes. So it gave me an idea of like, hey, how far am I going to have to go for this thing?
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to know that. I think it also it took a little bit away from it as well of just like, oh, I don't have to figure that part out of the clue. And so it did, throw a little bit different solve type of aspect into it, but it was cool knowing that it was there. It was also, I think it got more of us there at the same time. Every time I was there the first day and then a couple other days, like you ran into a lot of other people that were doing it. So that was kind of cool to interact with others that were part of the hunt too, which probably wouldn't have happened if we were all solving the location at different times and not ever crossing paths. But
and so were you sharing secrets with them and vice versa? Like, what have you found? Or was it kind of like, all right, I'm going to play this a little close to my vest. I see you here, but I'm not going to look too closely through these windows.
There was definitely a mixture of that. I think like the first day that, there was probably 3 or 4 of us groups that were there that first day, even though it was like freezing and raining on us and really hard raining at various points.
It's a real bummer with the weather.
Yeah, so I think like we shared, obviously some stuff around like, oh yeah, the business card is there. Everybody's going to find that one. That's not, but nobody, I don't think any of us knew exactly on the table what it was. A lot of us were thinking that vase right away, right? And then, I think as it progressed, shared a little bit with people that we saw there, but there was ones like when I found the press thing, or actually my wife found that, she had the eagle eye to see it through the window. There was others there when we found that one, and I was like, I'm not telling this one because I knew what that could potentially lead to for the solve aspect of it. And it was also super hard to find. So I was like, I'm not telling anybody that one unless they give me a clue on something I don't know.
Right.
So that one, I
scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yeah.
Well, so since we're talking a little bit about the solve, so let me do this. I'm going to throw up the initial hint, and then we'll kind of walk through what those pieces were that we were trying to find on campus. And it ended up being all within that historic farm lane area. I was a little nervous. You never really know how hard something is, and we don't want it solved like in just a matter of a couple hours. But we also don't want what was it, stage 6? I think it was, lasted 2 months. Like trying to find the happy medium. So I didn't want everybody on that historic farm lane, nonstop and not looking other places. A, it's a really cool campus, and B, I was really afraid that the clues would be easy to find and put together. So the first part, it's really kind of spelling out that it was at Ella Sharp, because I had built this before we actually partnered with Ella Sharp. So in Jackson's heart, her name is known, farmstead gift, through time it's grown. Her art and fields still welcome the day, and even the heavens aren't far away. Planetarium, right? 4 hidden clues. And then it gets into all right, what are we doing here? So 4 hidden clues waiting to be seen. Each gets you closer if you are keen. No threshold to cross, no gates to pass through. All of the signs lie before you. Once all 4 clues have come to light, put your findings in your browser tonight. The path ahead may seem insecure, but the prize awaits for those who endure. So I guess when you read that, did you know kind of what you were trying to, and I've got some other images of the clues that we were finding, but I guess what were your initial thoughts with this particular clue? Did you know what we were trying to do?
Well, similarly, like I threw out mostly that first paragraph because I was like, I didn't know that you guys had written this before you determined you were going to work with LS Sharp, but
yeah,
it did seem like more of a talking about the area. And so we kind of threw that one aside to some extent. But then we did go back to it later as we were piecing together things with the clock and thinking maybe that goes to time in that first paragraph. But when I looked at the end there, I work in IT. And so right off the bat, I was like putting it in my browser. I was like, it can't be just you're searching for anything. Because especially even when we saw the business card and I was looking at things that were on that table, I was like, it can't be just like an item name. Like there's no way that you guys are going to get us the same results every single time. And so I knew IP addresses. And so I was like, it's got to be something like that, especially being 4 parts. So I was thinking IP, but I didn't know how that would tie into anything else. 2.7, that's what really like cemented me like, yep, I'm on the right path. I'm pretty sure this one's a number. So that leads me to believe everything else would be number based as well. So
yeah, I had a couple people ask about, well, when I put it into my browser, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, I think once you find the things that you're trying to find, it'll be very clear what you're trying to do. If you're putting words in, if you're putting vase, for example, you're not putting the right thing in. But once you realize that they're numbers, I think people will figure that out. So let's go through some of these. So this was in the print shop. This was the trickier one, partially because when you press something, you have to put it in like inverted. And so I thought maybe that was going to be the tricky one.
Well, this is a lot more clear of a picture too. When you're looking in through the windows, unless you're like 7 foot tall, you're not going to see it from this angle.
I might have another one through the window. No, I don't. But yeah, this one was from up close, but it's definitely a little glary where it's at. So sometimes it's a little bit harder to see, but I had 3 people with me checking. I'm like, all right, what do you see? Can you see the numbers? Okay. The original ones were half that size. They were small print. And I'm like, we need to make this bigger. Do you have bigger letters and numbers? So yeah, we wanted to make sure CT was with everything. Something Cloaked Treasure. So you knew that something was important here.
Yeah, we didn't find this one until our 3rd trip down, which I wish we had taken way more photos the first trip of the rooms just to be able to look back and zoom in. But obviously it was pouring rain that day too. So it was just like everything you could do to try to even stay out of the wet rain. But yeah, that one we didn't find until our 3rd trip. That was the last piece that we hadn't solved the equation yet, but this was the one that we found last of the things that needed to be included.
And then the next one was you were talking about the business card on the thing, and it's a very glary again. I did not take this from inside, obviously. Yeah. But there were a lot of things on this table, and I'm like, do I put it real close to the clock? Because in this one, the number that we're looking for is 128, right? So it used to say 7 o'clock, but I went there Friday before everything started, and we moved things to the correct numbers and stuff. So 128 was the number that we were looking for here. But I'm like, if I put this right here, I think it's going to be super obvious. But if I put it just on the table, kind of away-ish from things, people are going to have to think about, right, what does it mean? What am I looking for?
Yeah, it was like, so that vase was always there before you guys even set up? Because it doesn't.
The only thing we did was change the number and put the card there.
It doesn't seem like it belongs. And so it stood out as something that like everything else on that table was clock related. That thing didn't stand out. And I did find that vase on eBay.
Oh, did you really? That's great.
And if you find it on eBay, it shows the bottom of it has a number stamped on it. and I wasn't sure. It's like 3157, which is a 4-digit number instead of 3 digits. But I was like, I don't know if that number is the same on every single one of these.
Yeah.
So we were between, like, I had pictures of the clock as well, because I thought that might be something with time being in one of the hints and then also being in the clue. But I was also still had that vase just in case, like, we were thinking period pieces could be like Bronze Age, Iron Age, Stone Age type of stuff. And even when we found that package, I know that's one of the other ones here, we were like, that had the AU for Auroric, and we're like, is that Gilded Age? And so we were kind of on like time periods for a little bit in terms of, is there a way you need to tie together years of time periods or something? But yeah, so we went a couple, even though we thought IP, it was like trying to figure out, before we found the press room thing, how do we tie these things into IPs? We had the 3 from this, obviously, if we thought that that's what it was, but
yeah. And this was, and I think I've got a picture from further away. So this was from, I think, outside. I think I put my phone right up to the window, so you can kind of see it up there, and you can see it better, in person, but kind of out of the way, but also, like, Benjamin Gates, for those that don't know, is the protagonist from the National Treasure series. Auric references like gold type of thing. And then CT, like, Cloaked Treasure, but it's also court. Charlotte is the ship that they were trying to find in National Treasure. And also it was Charlotte, Michigan, right? So like, oh, this is perfect. I love the way that this turned out. And I wish the packaging was a little older and more weathered, because I think it kind of stuck out a little bit compared to some of the other packaging. Like here, like, this is nice and new, and this is a little bit older. But I think anybody looking at it and going, Benjamin Gates sounds really familiar. If you're doing this treasure hunt, you've watched National Treasure, so you're probably recognizing that one. So,
yeah, and then we'd seen the equation in the chalkboard, so we had taken a photo of that early, like the first day. We had taken a photo of it, but then had solved it as well and seen like CT equals 11 plus TB square 0 squared, and we're like, that there's 2 T's, like you can't solve for anything here. I had thought maybe keen in the clue meant something in relation to the boot, but keen is more like sandals, like keen shoes. Yep. So we're just like pulling at anything, right? Of like, does anything tie? But I'd looked all around that boot, didn't see anything CT. So my wife ended up, after you gave that hint, was like, I was like, he says solve it. And I'm like, we've already solved it, but it doesn't mean anything. And then she's like, she yelled out boot. And I was like, I already knew the size, because I'd already looked up all the info on that boot outside before, trying to see what everything was. So immediately then I was like, oh, that's 247. Like, we got it.
Yeah, that was, I was like, I think a lot of people are stuck on the equation one. And I like the fact that it was like, inside you had this thing, but it's kind of, you have to put 2 things together to get that final number.
Yep. Yeah. And if you didn't know that it had a size, you would have had to go search more about it and take a little bit of time to figure it out. But I already knew that. I'd memorized that already, because I'd read it 2 or 3 times earlier.
Yeah, and that was one of those, I tried so many times. So when I created the website, so once you get the 4 numbers, there's only 24 combinations of those 4 numbers that you could possibly do. So something you can pretty easily do within 10 minutes to try all those 24, throwing them into a browser. And even then, technically, the 127 from the press, you can't. It's reserved. So at least for the first number. But yeah, so I went through and I tested. I had a different number originally, and Greg's like, you should probably check the IPs and make sure that they don't. If you put them in the wrong order, that they don't go to someplace. And so I'm thinking, oh, great, that's a good point. One of these is just going to end up being like, I don't know, a porn site or a weapon site or drugs or something. I'm like, I can't have that. So I went through, and it turns out the original numbers that I had, instead of the 247, there were 3 or 4 sites, nothing bad, but enough to be confusing. So I had to go and try, and I was really trying to get exactly the boot size so I could be CT equals boot. But I could not. So this one, I went through every combination, and thankfully there were no real sites on those. So I'm like, all right, I feel a little bit safer doing that. So it was definitely interesting. So what did that final clue just get you thinking about it differently for the boot, or was it just a eureka moment?
I think it was more just a eureka moment because we had, like I said, we'd already solved for CT. So we'd already, like, we had that in front of us. It was more of that, like, oh, look at it again and think about it. Because I was like, you're either going to tell us something that definitely makes me think I'm on the right path with IP, or you're going to give me something in left field that I'm like, I've been way off all along. And like, I don't even know how I can like redirect my thinking now. So that just made us look at it again. And that gave us that last number that we already had the other ones. And so it was pretty quick just to throw it in and test it there and see, the order and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had a lot of people messaging me different things, and I'm like, I can't confirm or deny any of the things, but I always find. So if you hit me up on Discord, I'm not going to be able to. I'll just do like a thumbs up, and it's whether you're good or bad, on or off. It'll probably just be a thumbs up, and I'll usually tell you I'm going to give you a thumbs up regardless. But I'm curious where you're at. What your thoughts are. So I was getting quite a few folks saying, all right, this is what I'm thinking right now, and this is what I'm doing. And so I love hearing that, just because I'm super curious what people's brains are doing with some of these puzzles and how you're solving.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that it looked like there was a letter on a table that potentially was Old English, like the Falstaff letter. So I know people were looking at the bell or the basket that was in the schoolhouse as well as potentially being something. And I was like, I'm on a different route. I don't think that's the case. But
and I was thinking some of these down here had some numbers on them as well. I thought that might throw some people off.
There was so many things in this general store that I was like, before we saw the package on day one, like early, I was taking pictures of everything because I'm like, there's got to be something with these cans or the boxes or games. I'm like, there's so many like nuggets in here that could have been used, that it seemed like a right place for you guys to have something. But
yeah, and the Ella Sharp folks were awesome. Being able to go in and put the printing letters and numbers down, changing the time, because like I said, originally it was 7:00. I'm like, do you mind if we change that to like 1:28? Like, why is that? I'm like, it's just an important number. Like, I can't tell you the reason, but like, and they were really cool about letting us put the package in, and the equation even was one of those where I wasn't sure, because they do I think the package is this way, so they do classes come in and do historical lessons and stuff like that. And so they'll actually have kids in that classroom occasionally, and so that's why I put the little semicircle. That's the don't erase this portion. And they took a picture of it, so if anybody erased it after a class came through, they'd be able to fix it. But if I didn't do that, do you think it would have drawn your eye if it was just on there with everything else, or did that semicircle kind of like tune you in?
You could tell. I mean, the twos are different than the twos above, so you could tell that it was different handwriting, the equation, than the stuff that was above. We also did notice that between the times that we were there was chalkboards on the desk that were erased. Like, because the first day there was stuff written on some of those chalkboards. The next time we went, those chalkboards were empty. So you could tell that somebody had been sitting at the desk doing different things, but that was still there. So it did stand out as like something of like, oh, this hasn't changed in the week that we've come 3 times. Other things in this place has changed. But yeah, you could tell that it was different writing than the stuff above slightly. So that also helped indicate that it was unique.
And then let me share a different screen here. So once you figured out the numbers, you pop them into a web page, and we'll share that real quick. And it's real simple. Like I use a little chat GPT action, and I use AWS to host a small little, because I didn't want it part of our website, because I didn't want search engines and crawlers to be able to do these kinds of things. So I just launched a new web server and had just a super simple website. So all you do is pop your email address in, info, whatever, click submit. And then it takes you to the, hey, you solved stage 8, congratulations. And so I get an email when someone puts their email address in. I think you should have gotten a confirmation email that you got there. And then you got your 48-hour head start, and now we're on to stage 9. I think Skullbone on Discord was like 10 minutes behind you, and then I think Stefan was the next morning or something. So a couple people solved it after that final thing, but you got there first. So congratulations. Thanks.
Very exciting.
So, and then in stage 9 here, we've got the image here, the Sphinx of Black Quartz, Judge My Vow. And I got to get something off my screen here because it's blocking it. You guys can't see it, but and then we've got the dominoes. I think I called this Matchstick Madness and the Dominoes of Doom or something like that. So it's interesting. And one of the minor hint that I'm going to kind of give to everybody, and many of you probably, if you've already been digging into this, probably already know this. So probably going to be a little disappointed in the hint, but the Sphinx of Black Quartz, Judge My Vow. What I will tell you is every single letter in the alphabet is represented there. And so the phrase may not mean anything, doesn't, but the fact that every letter in the alphabet is something that you want to pay attention to. So that's the minor hint that I'm going to give. What we're going to do is probably on Saturday, I'll give a more fully featured hint to help things along a little bit less obvious. Like I said, a lot of you probably have already seen that. And they're like, okay, throw it into Google or ChatGPT, and you kind of like, all right, that's what it is. All the letters are there. But now what? So Saturday, I'll give another hint. If I need one, the following Saturday, I will give a deeper hint as well. My hope is we can get this solved before Thanksgiving. That way people aren't like out traveling, like, oh, I can't do a thing, and somebody else is going to get ahead of me while I'm traveling and doing family things. So the hope is we'll get it done right before Thanksgiving at some point, whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday, the Wednesday before. We'll hopefully get that done then. Stage 10 is going to kick off on December 1st. So that's why we're really trying to get it done before Thanksgiving. People can travel, come back from all the Thanksgiving stuff. And stage 10 is the big one. It's the granddaddy, 20,000 and change dollars for that stage. So December 1 for stage 10, we're going to start trying to do a little bit more promotion and get more people involved for the big stage. I don't know if people are just waiting for the big one, but if you are, it's coming up. We'll kick that off on December 1st. That will be let me think how to say it without giving too much away ahead of time. It will be a 2-stop event. You're going to go to you're going to find a place, find a thing, and then that'll lead you to the final spot. So, so super excited about stage 10 coming up, but this one is super interesting. I was a little afraid this one was going to be too easy. Greg was a little afraid that it was going to be too hard. I know, sorry, Stefan, that's not really a hint. A better one will come on Saturday, I promise. unless someone solves it. Like I said, I was thinking this might be a little bit too easy because, Doug and I were talking beforehand. And when you are the maker of the puzzles, the solve. You can't think of other, how difficult it would be if you didn't already know the answer and the trick to the puzzle, right? So I do think that once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you'll go from 0 to 100 like that once you when it kind of clicks. But I don't know. If your eyes are bugging, I apologize in advance.
Yeah, I think we probably all knew that hint already.
Yeah, I figured probably, but and again, so because I think once you figure out how to solve it, it happens like that. I'm really trying to make sure I figure out a hint that doesn't just go, "Hey, by the way, this is the answer." So I'm trying to buy myself a couple more days to make something where it doesn't just ruin the puzzle for everybody by making it too easy. So, but I did have a couple people asking about the words and some of those kind of things. So confirming the words themselves aren't important, but the fact that all the letters are there is. So sorry, Stefan. Sorry, Doug. We'll get more later if you even need it. If you solve it sooner than that, high fives.
No, it's like the equation. I think even if we just look at it a different way now, it might trigger something. So thank you.
Oh, Greg just popped in. He said he found stage 9 difficult as he worked through a couple ways to tackle it. And I've gotten a couple different people.
Just remember, he made us figure out the number of meters from a random central point in hell.
You literally were in hell for that stage, right? Not actually in there, but yeah.
A tree in a forest of 1,000,000 trees down to the meter. So I think you're a little bit nicer so far, but we'll see.
I hope so. I hope so. But yeah, if you want to throw your ideas my way, I'd love to hear them. I'm not going to be able to confirm or deny if you're on the right track or anything. But I am always super curious. I've heard from a couple people about like, oh, this is what I'm thinking. And they've sent some screenshots of some of their doodles and that kind of stuff. I'm like, wow, those are things that I never even thought of, but I love, the way people's brains work on some of these kind of things. You'll feel better if you solve it without any hints. That's true, but I'm sure we'll give you hints anyway if we need to. But awesome. Any other thoughts on the stage 8 at Ella Sharp?
No, I think fun times getting out there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, appreciate you popping in and kind of talking about that experience. Glad you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoy stage 9. I do like stage 9 in that one of the things that we were asked a couple times was it'd be really great to do a virtual stage. So most of this stage you can do because it's the visual puzzle, and that visual puzzle will give you a pretty specific location. Once you solve it, you'll be able to go to where you need to go and find it probably pretty quick. So I'd say 90% of the work is solving the puzzle, and then the other 10% is just go getting your prize. So hopefully this is a good combination of virtual and boots on the ground.
Well, let me go warm up the car. I'm out of here.
Right on. All right. Well, appreciate you, Doug. Thanks for doing this. And Stefan and Greg and Erica, everybody in the chat and watching at home. Join the hunt, CloakedTreasure.com. We've got stage 9 kicking off right now with $1,600 and change in prizes and $20,000 coming up for stage 10. So tell your friends and let's get more people hunting. Until then, we will talk at you later. See you guys.
Thanks.